Welcome to the podcast. I am Pride or Danny,
Hello, I am Sean Keener Carter.
Hi, I'm KSB or Lydia.
and
All right,
welcome to our podcast,
now that we
the
have
OG Sugars.
yeah, welcome. If you want to know the backstory on that, now that I'm actually here, I can actually discuss the backstory of our name. Thanks to those two people on Roblox, by the way.
Yeah, shout out.
So today we're talking about the Life is Strange. We talked about it last podcast. I was not here, unfortunately. Sorry about that. Today we're talking about Life is Strange, the series, the legacy, the controversy, and especially the new trailer for the upcoming game. If you have not seen the trailer, I recommend you go watch it before you watch the podcast. And a big thing right now, if you have not played Life is Strange, which that's almost impossible nowadays, but if you have not played it and you want to go play it, then you probably should not watch this, as there will be major spoilers in this podcast. So please, if you want to go play it, then I recommend go playing it before you watch our podcast. You have been warned for spoilers. So
Exactly.
basically, this franchise means a lot to people, but it also in a really weird spot right now. So we're going to talk about Square Enix owning the IP, whether Fandom Man actually shaped the new game, and why Double Exposure did not land at all, and whether the next game is about to save the series or probably finish it for good. So basically, my first question for all of us here: when did Life is Strange peak for you? When was the stopping point of Life is Strange for you?
As in, stopping point?
Like when did Life is Strange become not a game that you most necessarily enjoyed anymore? When did Life is Strange stop becoming enjoyable?
Um,
Like what part? Was it the fans? Was it the like game itself? Like which part of it?
the fans for me.
Definitely.
I feel like that's very clear.
I think for me, it's just, yeah, I think for me, it's just a game in general. Just a very slow paced game. And it's kind of hard to, stay in tune with what you're doing when it's so slow paced.
Right. And that was definitely something I think I can definitely agree on is that the game is very slow paced. It's very hard to stay engaged when there's so many filler moments that try to like shape the story around a lot more. And I can definitely agree with Danny as well. There's so many problems with the fans, and I definitely think that the fans may have had a little bit of an opinion on how this new game is being shaped. I think Danny can definitely give us some more points on that if he would like to, of course.
Oh, most definitely. So, when it comes to this new upcoming game, I've seen the trailer. I don't know if you guys have. Um, I was very excited. And I'm not the biggest fan of Chloe. We all know that. I'm also not the biggest fan of continuously doing Max and Chloe. I very much prefer the other games, which have completely different characters and cast. But with this new game, I most definitely think the fans are. I want to hope that they don't ruin it, but I have a huge gut feeling that they will. Specifically the ones who whined for Chloe to come back, and now that she's back, they're complaining about that I've noticed every little thing, from the way that she looks, the way she sounds, her character model, which I do agree with some things about the character model. But I think
It's
the
very weird.
yeah, I don't like it. Like, I don't know what they expected. Do they think that Chloe's supposed to stay a teenage girl forever? She's in her 30s. She's gonna age, and she looks healthy than she did in the first game. I truly think the fans will hope. I want to hold out and hope are not going to be the biggest downfall for this game. I personally think the game's going to be, I think, probably amazing because it's got the writers from Before the Storm in it, and Before the Storm was a great game. So I have huge
Definitely.
hope for it, and I don't doubt that they've cooked with this game.
You have anything you want to add, Lydia?
Well, I haven't really, I don't have much experience with the new game and it coming out. But I mean, I've heard from Danny that he thinks it'll be good. So, I just think it might be the same slow paced kind of game that it was before. So,
Right.
about it.
So with that in mind, we're going to go into our first segment. I've got things a little layered around here. So basically, in case no one here knows what Life is Strange is, again, probably want to go check it out as it has we're going to have major spoilers here. Life is Strange is an episodic, narrative-driven game. It's really heavily focused on making choices and having consequences for all your choices. It really makes you think about what you're doing. We actually had a playthrough of Life is Strange on Danny's channel. If anyone wants to go check that out, definitely would go check that out. Me and Lydia were making a lot of the choices. As Danny has pretty much played the whole series, he definitely has a better understanding than I think me and Lydia do on the games, as he's just played all of them and really knows the characters in the fandom. He's interacted with them a lot, so it's kind of. I'm not gonna say I'm clueless on the game, but I definitely haven't played through all of them, and there's definitely a lot of things I've missed. Um, but yeah, if you're interested in checking that out, then go check out Danny's channel and go look at that. But there's also a lot of trauma in the game. There's a lot of grief in the game. A lot of things happen in that game as you get connected to these characters, and there's a lot of horrible things that'll happen in the game, and it just makes you feel like in touch with the character, almost like you're right there playing with them. This game also built a fandom. It's really not just a player base anymore. There's a whole fandom around Life is Strange. Now, unfortunately, the fandom has kind of um, how do I put it? Has kind of had a negative impact on Life is Strange in total. A lot of negative inputs. In fact, I'm so positive the player base or the fandom ruined the last game, which I thought was a terrific game. Beautiful graphics, just beautiful storytelling. I always will agree with Lydia though. There's a um, it's hard for story games to have that engagement sometimes. Sometimes it feels like it's moving in slow motion. So I definitely have to agree with Lydia that most of the games did feel slow paced, but at the same time, it was definitely a beautiful game. And I my whole pretty much my key point here is that Life is Strange isn't just a game series; it's an emotional experience people attach their identity to. It's something that people hold truly to their heart. So I'm not going to try and sit here and hog the mic the whole time. I'm so sorry. Um, Pretty much for a quick game breakdown, in case you're wanting like a kind of thing on it. Life is Strange, the first ever game, came out in 2015. People described it as lightning in a bottle. It was the perfect depiction of what the series would become. It introduced Max, it introduced Chloe. Would you guys go ahead and like to give your points and takes on the first game?
Do you want me to go first, or Lydia, do you want to go?
Uh, I can go first. The first game was good in itself, especially in the way it showed trauma and as you get to know the characters, it just really sets up for the next game. Um, like the game itself is really good. I got bored while I was playing the game. Because you can only be engaged for so long because even though you do make the choices that have consequences later, some of them don't necessarily have any effect. So when you think about it that way, it's more of like, so does it really have an effect on what happens, or is it just one of those choices where it's like, oh, it doesn't matter because if I get this wrong, worst comes to worst, there's not going to be any consequences. Um, I mean, the graphics were pretty good, and I mean, it was a little cringy at times, but then again, it's an older game, so not really surprised about that. But I mean, it was pretty good for being the first game.
Um, for me, back in the day when I was a little wee baby, um, sorry, that shed my age. I fell in love with this game. I remember seeing this game online, and I decided to play it for myself. And I fell in love with it. I fell in love with the characters, the story, the way that they had trauma presented. Like Lydia said, they did a really good job with trauma. I've never felt more connected to a character than Kate specifically. Um, and that that was just an interesting thing, um, for sure. Uh, but I do agree with them. It is slow. That was one of the things that I really, well, not really hated, because I do love story. I do love slow story games, which is basically the whole fucking series, I guess. Specifically the second game. Anyway, but yeah, this game stapled itself for sure in the storytelling world and choice based. It's definitely probably a very remarkable game, S tier. But unfortunately for
Definitely.
me, as I got older, I don't really like the first game, and that's a very controversial opinion. But I just did not love the game like I did, because for some reason now, as I am an adult and I was a kid playing it back then, I just don't feel the same way that I did then that I do now. And obviously feelings change over time. My opinions on some characters are like very, I guess, negative is the word. Like, I don't like a lot of the characters that I loved back then. And that kind of makes me sad, but it is what it is. And this game will always remain an S tier, but it just is not my personal favorite at all.
Definitely. I couldn't agree anymore. Now, as time went on, Square Enix decided to make another game. Now, in the chronological order of the games, this game actually comes before Life is Strange, and this one was called Before the Storm. Now, this one, people pretty much describe this one as a very character focused and also kind of fan pleasing, as more people wanted to see the side character to Max, Chloe Price. More people wanted to see more of her. So we got Chloe Price's story before Max even came back. So unfortunately, there's also another. We also played through that one as well. If you guys would like to go check that one out, it's on Danny's channel. Um, Now, of course, if you guys would like, we could take a stop right here and talk about this one as well. If you like, if you want to, go ahead. If not, then we'll continue.
Um,
I personally love Before the Storm. I think it is better than the original. I might be biased because this is the first time I played through these games, and I don't really have like I just I'm just learning as I go. Um, I think it was a better show of trauma and how how people react, and the mental like toll it takes to deal with trauma, and how people aren't helpful in certain situations. Um, and genuinely, I loved the way they portrayed all the characters, and a lot of people don't like Chloe, which is okay because she's kind of an asshole.
she's kind of a bitch.
But I love that this game gives her, yeah, a little bit of a bitch, but I love that it gives her, she deserved her own game just to be completely like what happened through her eyes and everything that like led up to what the ending was for the first game. I feel like if we didn't have this game, we wouldn't be able to dive as deep into her past and her backstory and like understand one of the other side characters, Rachel. We wouldn't be able to understand the connection and why it runs so deep and the care um, for them. And we get to see a new relationship as well, and then that's very beautiful and lovely. I love everything about the game personally.
um, I love everything you just said. Shout out Amber Price, best ship ever.
Literally the best
um,
ship ever. Hmm.
yeah, I adore Chloe specifically in this game. As a little birdie knows, I can't stand Chloe. I can't stand her in the first game. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's her voice actor. I don't know if it's her just in general, like her actions in the game. I don't know. She irks me really bad. But learning her in this in Before the Storm made me appreciate her character a little more, because it just shows she's still a kid, and unfortunately losing a parent at that age it just isn't that this I don't know how to like say this without sounding like an ass, but it's not good. Obviously, it's not good at all. It's
Yeah, it
terrible.
takes a big toll on the mental health,
Ex-
especially with the lack of support.
exactly. And um so she had destructive behavior and it showed very very early on in my opinion. Um and I think Rachel helped stabilize that a little bit, which made me really happy because I think Rachel understood her when no one else really did. And for that, that really like was touching. And I think it shows how parental loss can cause such a fucking commotion inside of you and you don't know how to get it out. So your only way of that is to act out, and it is, and I understand it's very tiring on the other parent, the sole parent. But I also get it's very very tough on the child as well. It's very tough on them, and I think if you don't get them the help that they need, uh, a little bit after it happens, you're kind of doomed as a parent as your child acts out in every way that they can. And that sucks. It really does. But I think Deck
Right.
9 did a wonderful job showing Chloe's side of the story, showing her relationship with Rachel. That was beautiful. And showing that she is still a kid, she is still human. She is just,
Hmm.
unfortunately, I think, kind of misunderstood, and and never got the help that she really needed, which is just really unfortunate. Side note: if you didn't know this, people hate this game. People did not like this game,
Right.
but it was asked for.
I don't get why they hated the game. Like, generally, it's an amazing game, and it really, I, because, like, if you don't play this one, you just don't understand her destructive behavior as on a deep level. Like, the more, like, you think about it, like, you get to just see, like, all of like the way that she's trying to release out these emotions and is unable to because her mom didn't get her the help she needed and she just wanted to just up and move on, which isn't, it's not gonna help your child in any way. It's just gonna make them find a new way to release it, and they really did show it really well. And I like, as you said, how Rachel balances her out
Yeah,
because she's also going through loss.
they bonded really quick. And I love that despite Chloe going through her own shit, I'm glad that she was there for Rachel. I'm glad Rachel was there for Chloe, despite her going through her own shit at the time. And I think
Hmm.
they make a great relationship, great friendship. I think they, like you said, they balance each other out really, really well.
Right.
And I think Joyce, like you said, handled it really poorly. Um, I can't remember. Did you? I think we looked this up. Was it like 2 years after William died?
I believe it was 4 years.
4?
So
Oh
I
fuck!
believe it was four. Yeah, I think it was 3 or 4 years.
Someone can correct
Which
this
means
on
that,
that if we're wrong,
yeah,
obviously.
it,
Because if it's four
that's just really,
years,
yeah,
then like moving on, like I get that after 4 years, um, you kind of go into the mindset, oh, like he wouldn't want me to be alone forever, type mindset.
right,
But I think the way that she handled bringing David in and Chloe acting out, that I think that was handled really
right,
poorly, specifically because you Chloe never got the help that she needed. And
right,
that doesn't help when David is trying to be assertive and trying to discipline her like she is his child. She is not.
hmm,
Um and granted, yeah, getting out of the military, your mindset is still not like, civilian mode. It's not quite there yet. You're always going to be like, in soldier mode. Um, but I think I liked his attitude better in this game. He's not as much of a dick,
Definitely.
um, which
Yeah, definitely.
which is great. He was more likable. But I do think, uh, again, Joyce handled it so poorly. It was very poor the way that she
Right.
handled all this.
Yeah, because I mean, I technically 4 years is an okay time to move on after losing a spouse, but I feel like the way she like as you said, she introduced David to her, and she took all the pictures, and not even leaving any family photos up. So she's got nothing left really of her father. Um, and nobody tells us like how soon she took everything down, and I'm sure she didn't like. She's like you can see that she doesn't have a way of comforting her. It's just more of them bickering back and forth. Um, and like he's trying to step in and be the dad that she doesn't want, and her mom is trying to force her to accept him as her father when she's not at that point yet. And the lashing out is very important to show like how much this like is going to affect her, and um like how much she doesn't want this and she's not ready for it. Is like genuinely like her mother seems like a nice person, but the way she handled it just made me really upset because Chloe didn't deserve to have all of that put on her.
I agree. I agree a lot there.
Yeah.
Definitely, as Before the Storm definitely was a game that answered a lot of questions that we had in the first original game. Of course, when you're playing the first original game, you have absolutely no idea who Rachel Amber is. You don't know who she is. You just see her missing posters. We get a little bit of information from Chloe, the most details she's wanting to share. We kind of already established connection with David, the stepfather, of course. We see him as a whole different person, and then we finally get to see how he actually transitioned into the family. Um, we also, and there's an episode in the game where you go back in time and you play as little Max, and you see little Chloe, and you see actually Chloe's actual father. You see him, and of course, there's a moment in there where you can change the way things happen, but of course, we all know chaos theory. It completely ruins the whole fucking timeline, and we get wheelchair Chloe. What a goat! Nothing greater than
Right.
wheelchair Chloe. Um, you know, so
We love her.
we love wheelchair Chloe. There's nothing greater out there than wheelchair Chloe. Um, Obviously, in that timeline, like, we have to make the hard choice of either killing Chloe or we get to keep her alive. But as her wishes, most people selected just to end her suffering, as it was a suffering time for her. But it obviously shows Max that there's really not much he can actually change about the timeline, and it also comes back to in the last podcast, Lydia and Danny definitely touched on something that was most important when it comes to the first game, and it is truly the end all be all of Chloe has to unfortunately die. That scene in the bathroom holds so much weight to it because it truly tells the fans, you have stopped this death, but unfortunately, chaos theory will not allow you to continue to stop this death. So, unfortunately, you have to let Chloe, unfortunately, die. That's how the end of the game usually goes. Most people usually they used to pick, sacrifice Arcadia Bay, pretty fucked up, but they did it for the relationship of Chloe and Max. Which I mean didn't even go that well at once it was all said and done. Which was for obvious reasons that obviously a player wouldn't think about whenever they're making the decision. Chloe didn't really like Max for making that decision, as literally her mom and her stepdad. Even though she didn't really like her stepdad, she still had a care and a bond somewhat for him. So and a lot of her friends were down in Arcadia Bay, so Chloe kind of had that resentment towards Max for just sacrificing all those people just for her, um, which is understandable in some cases. But that's pretty much the end all be all of the first game. You have to let Chloe die. Now, again, like I said, before the storm answers a lot of questions. We finally get to meet who exactly Rachel Amber was. what the relationship between Rachel and Chloe really was. We even get to see people like Nathan. Now, that's one of the best things about Life is Strange, that you get to see these background characters, and it really brings the story even more to life. You see Nathan from the Before the Storm as this innocent, also getting picked on, bullied kid who is being treated horribly by his father. And then in the in the original game, you see just how much that has really affected him and turned him into a legitimate psychopath who's just being manipulated every single step of the way. You also get to see Victoria Chase, still a bitch, always going to be a bitch, forever a bitch. Victoria Chase, we don't get to see any evolution with her at all. Um, she actually seems a little bit more nicer, like she's trying a lot more. But then, of course, in the original game, she's just all out bitch. I am a bitch. She's a bitch. But you get to see all these different characters just kind of interact and go around, and that's one of the parts I love about Life is Strange, is that there's so many amazing background characters that it really brings the story to life. Now, moving on, after Before the Storm, which again answered so many questions for us, I think it was truly an amazing game that needed to be created. We go into Life is Strange 2. That is the next in the series. Now, people usually describe Life is Strange 2 as a bold but very divided game, as it really brings you away from Max and Chloe. Now, unfortunately, if I'm thinking of, if I'm Square Enix, if I'm pretending to be Square Enix here, it's probably the most nerve-wracking thing to come away from your two main characters like that. The people that have, brought you the sales, the money. Max and Chloe are on the fucking title screen. I mean, you think, when you say Life is Strange, you immediately think of Max Caulfield and Chloe Price. Those are the two characters you immediately think of. But Life is Strange 2 really brought a different narrative, and I don't think it was a bad narrative at all. In fact, I like the change. I like how different the setting was. Unfortunately, I don't think Lydia knows too much about Life is Strange 2. Of course, you can still give your comments on it if you'd like. But if you guys want to go and talk about Life is Strange 2, then go ahead.
So yeah, I don't know too much. I mean, we got through what, like the first episode,
Yeah, we
I
got through
think.
one.
Yeah, but I mean, just with playing it so far, I really like it. I like the change from Max and Chloe, and also it still like shows like trauma and like how it affects children. I really like the way they represent it, just through this game and through the others as well.
Um, because we've only done one episode, I feel like it's right to only talk about one episode. I think if we ever do another episode of Life is Strange for the podcast, we can talk more about it. But because we've only done one episode, I feel it's right to only talk about that episode. So, like Lydia said, the trauma. Yeah. By the way, Square Enix is the publisher. Nod made Life is Strange 1 and 2. Deck 9 has made Before the Storm, True Colors, Double Exposure, and now Reunion. Um, but yeah, the trauma that they have, like these people, like these companies know how to do trauma really well, specifically in these games. Um, and this and the bold move, which I really thought was really good, was okay. I really don't know how to word this, so I apologize if this comes off as like really fucking terrible. They added blatant racism, which I think was a very bold move, specifically for the time period the game is set in, and when the game came out. I think all of us Americans know why that was during the that time period. Um, but I think the racism, it's terrible, but I thought it was a nice touch to show like these kids are different ethnic. Can someone say that word for me?
Ethnicity, yes,
Thank
Ethnicities.
ethnicity.
you, thank you, thank you. And it goes to show that they are treated poorly. And then obviously, the bold move of the cop showing up, pulling the gun out, Sean and Daniel's dad coming out, trying to figure out what the fuck is going on. And unfortunately, because the cop is a rookie, he shoots Esteban and he's dead. And then Daniel's power comes out to play, which I love his power. I love telekinesis very much. Um, and then their journey starts, and then just following the boys so far in the first episode as we finished, they already go through so much shit. They already go through Sean getting his ass kicked multiple times, being accused of stealing because of their skin color, the blatant racism, obviously, and then the compassion of a stranger taking them and giving them sanctuary in a hotel room for the night, a couple days, and just giving Sean advice on how to take care of Daniel. I think oh, and the nice touches as well of showing Arcadia Bay, whether it's completely fucking destroyed or it's still there. That was really nice. I think Dontnod did well making this game. To me, by far, this game has the better writing out of all of the games, by far. And the entire franchise, I think, better writing. Not as good as characters, other than I feel like Sean and Daniel. As of right now, I'll say more eventually. But I think the risk that they took was fantastic. I think the difference and like characters and the story, because we're not just stuck in we're not just stuck in one area like we were in Arcadia Bay, like restricted to one area as we were playing Max or Chloe. We're actually getting an kind of an open world experience as well, which is really really nice. I really like that. And if we say quite fucking a lot, dude. Um Holy
I just have
shit.
an counter at this point.
Yeah, get an counter, dude. So as someone
um,
who's been shut up, as someone who's been in the fandom and has played all these games for over the past decade since the first one came out, this game was not well received. This game was actually, I think, flopped pretty hard. And this is not like an attack or anything, but this is like a direct thing to the fans. They are the reason why the game flopped. When they heard there was no Max and Chloe, there was immediate outrage. The game didn't sell well. People were complaining that it was woke because of the racism and all this other shit. Because their mission is to get out of America and go to Mexico. Fans called that woke. And if you know Life is Strange, the whole franchise is woke. The whole franchise is. And I think it's very obvious that it is. So I don't really understand the whole point of calling it woke when the whole game is. And I think it really like disappoints me today because Life is Strange 2 is getting love because the fans who boycotted it almost 10 years ago are now playing it because they heard David is in it and that there's a little talk of Max and Chloe. That really disappoints me that they're only playing it for that. Because I feel like they're missing out on a fucking wonderful game. And the fact that people are loving this game now because Double Exposure was terrible. Well, not in my opinion, but was terrible in their eyes, and they think Reunion's gonna be terrible as well.
definitely. And so that was definitely the whole thing of Life is Strange 2. It definitely took a different twist. Whether people think it was a good twist or a bad twist, it definitely took a different twist on the game. We didn't get to see the two main characters that usually people always came for. It was pretty nice that they even mentioned it in there from David. That was a nice little touch, but I think Life is Strange definitely needed a different touch of scenery. Not saying that I was ever bored with Max or Chloe, but I mean, there's only so much you can do with people. I mean, their story ended a long time ago. I'm surprised that they're still trying with this. But I mean, there's also endless stories you could make, but at the same time, it feels like you can only stretch it on for so long. There's a reason why Fast and Furious is not a popular movie series anymore. Because holy shit, you stretch it out, it's just not fun anymore to watch. It used to be about driving race cars. Now it's about running from submarines in an ice tank, right? It's just not fucking. It's just not what it is anymore. Now, unfortunately, I haven't for the next two games that we're not gonna pretty much dive deep into them, sadly, because unfortunately, I know Lydia has definitely not played them. I've watched people play them. Danny has played them. If he would like to talk about them, he definitely can. He could definitely give a better insight on them than I could, because I just watch YouTubers play it, meaning that I've probably only watched like one YouTuber play it. And they only did like one choice or two choices, so I definitely couldn't give my best insight on something. And it's always better not to talk about something because I'm going to sound ignorant as fuck if I don't know what I'm talking about. But the next game is True Colors. Now, True Colors is pretty much described as a polished and very safe route that Life is Strange took. Also has an amazing song with Creep, cover song with Creep. Amazing, by the way. I'm not saying that was the best part of the game, but I definitely love that so much. Wonderful voice acting. Definitely brought a new world again. Now, of course, like Danny said earlier, you can definitely already imagine how this game probably looked in the eyes of fans of the Life is Strange fandom. There was no Max and Chloe. Now, obviously, people liked it, some people didn't. I definitely agree with Danny though that these games, gamers' mindsets are definitely focused on um, too much at one time. I mean, they're thinking only about Max and Chloe when they think of Life is Strange, and they truly missed out on these two banger fucking games, which was Life is Strange 2 and True Colors. I truly think that these games are absolutely like we're talking fucking peak. Like there's some obviously there's some problems, there's some things that went wrong. um, Obviously, like we always say, there's a engagement part that you kind of have to get over as a hurdle, but that's almost any story game sometimes. But I mean, my hands are literally in the air. This shit was peak. Like we're talking, these things had amazing stories. It gave that perfect twist. Um, I mean, and even Life is Strange 2 even gave a little bit of credit to the original characters like Max and Chloe. I mean, you can look at games. I mean, me and Danny played It Takes Two one time, and the creators put the cool fucking what's their names from A Way Out? What's I can't
Leo
remember what
and
their names are. They put little
Vincent, the
yeah,
crew.
put little action figures in the fucking game, and just to give a kind of novelty to what started it all for that company. That was just a little example I wanted to use there, but I think people definitely made these games worse than what they really were. Because I mean, truly, I mean, if there was never a Max and Chloe, if it was just Life is Strange 2 by itself, I think that game would have hit hard. But unfortunately, people's minds were so set on Max and Chloe only when it came to Life is Strange that they just did not like this at all. Now, again, I'll let Danny talk about True Colors if he would like. Me and Lydia don't know that much about it. Again, I can only talk about a YouTube playthrough that I watched, but if Danny would like to talk about it, then he can, of course, do
Oh fuck yeah, because this is my favorite game. This is my comfort game. This is
that.
I'm so excited. I love this game. So, I'm
This
not
game
gonna
was good.
lie. I'm not gonna lie. It's slow. Like that's just all there is to it. I mean, all these games are slow as shit, but I think Life is Strange 2 and True Colors take the cake for the slowest. Um, but I do agree with the safe route comment. They did take the safe route with this one because there's nothing on the line, which is what I appreciate. I love slow, like kind of sapphic stories like that, and this became my favorite. I remember seeing the trailer. I didn't know this game was coming out, so when I saw the trailer from none other than
Trailer was so good.
Katie Bentz, Steph's voice actor, by the way. What were you gonna say?
I was just saying the trailer was so good. Sorry.
Dude, the trailer was awesome. Cause I watched it through Katie Benz, and she actually cosplayed what Steph had in the game. Um, and that to me was just cool. The game was beautiful. I couldn't wait for it to come out. Um, and then it did. It was bright. It was colorful. The view of the mountains, because it's in Colorado, like that was the most gorgeous, I think, scenery that the series has had yet. Like it was beautiful. Can you shush? Um, and the characters. This is my favorite set of characters. I've never loved characters more. Alex, her power is empathy. except she can also, I think it's read minds as well. She can tap into their what they're feeling and see like what they're thinking, what they're talking about, how they're feeling, why. Um, and what she also can do is she can choose to take away their emotion or not, which unfortunately embodies Alex, so it takes over her. But they don't go like monotone. They don't lose that emotion, nothing like that. She just steals it for that moment, and then she has that until it fucking bursts, whatever. And the story is classic. I don't want to give away the what the plot is, but it is a very fucking shocking kind of plot. I'm not gonna lie. It feels kind of textbook, but it's not. They have a LARP thing in it, which is really cool. Even though I don't like D&D, I think it's not for me. I loved the LARP. That was awesome. And then Alex's trauma, I've never related to a character more. I don't want to go too much into that because I feel like I'm just gonna spoil her, like, because her backstory is a massive part in the game, and it's obviously based off the trailer. Going off the trailer, she's finding out what and who killed her brother, and so she's kind of detective around trying to figure out why her brother was killed and who did it, and it's fucking it's amazing. And relationship wise, oh, don't get me started because I'm not gonna stop talking about it, so I'm just gonna shut up. But I definitely think for me this was my favorite game, and this game I don't talk to the fucking wall. This game to me will always be S tier. This game is perfect. I love this game. I don't think it deserves all the hate it gets. Yes, it can be boring. I understand that, but it is not the fucking worst in the series, okay? I just want to say that right now. It's not the worst. I don't think there is a terrible game, but that's just me. I think all these games are good and incredible in their own ways. They're all unique. They all have their own story. I think people are just too harsh because they're just, so used to what the first game was or what the second game was. And I think it's really, and it upsets me because when people read online and they read reviews, they don't try the game out. They just listen to what other people say. Play the games. Literally, play the games. Don't ask if they're worth it. Play them. Because I promise each game is an experience on its own. And each game leaves you with so many emotions afterwards. And we've all felt that as we've played as we've gone through the games on my YouTube channel. We've all went through the motions with these games, and I hate when people just judge a book by its cover. Play it. I promise you're not gonna regret playing these games. I can't make you like True Colors, but if you hate it, I hope you change your mind one day. Go back and replay it because I think it's worth all the love, personally.
Definitely, and I mean, sadly, like Danny has just said, the game, even though it was truly the original story, by the way, of course, not detail for detail, it definitely brought us back to the original story of that detective work that you had to do. Um, like it brought that back, but unfortunately, the fans just wanted to see Max and Chloe all together again, and unfortunately, the fans ruined that game once again. Notorious for doing it. Obviously, the rule of thumb is without people playing your game, you don't actually have a game. It's the common rule in business. If you have a product but you don't have any sales, you don't have a business. It's just kind of, I think I said that a little bit backwards, but you get the idea of what I'm trying to say here. Is that sadly there was so much put into that game, and people just didn't appreciate it. So then we're also not going to dive too much into this one, just because it's the newer one of the entire collection. Double Exposure came out. It's the most recent one we have so far. There's obviously a new one coming out, which is what we're going to talk about here pretty soon, I think. But Double Exposure came out, and people described this game as the controversial sequel attempt. Now we saw Max, we saw her big fucking comeback. No one expected it really to happen. I think a lot of people thought after True Colors it was over. I think, hell, I think people thought after Life is Strange 2 it was over. I think a lot of people thought the game was just never, we were never going to see a new one. But Square Enix said, "Fuck y'all," and they said, "I'm gonna do it again." So they brought out another game, and so that gave us Double Exposure. It gives us the story of Max. Now, again, I don't know too much about Double Exposure. I just watch YouTubers play it, so I'm not going to speak too much on it because I just saw one person selecting one choice every time. So I don't know everything that happens in the game. It does give a little bit of Chloe Price. I think like you like read a letter from her, but it wasn't what fans were actually looking for. In fact, the fans were even more horrible on this game, as this game was projected to make a lot of money. Unfortunately, it fucking tanked, and not because the game's ugly, not because there's some horrible bug in the game that made it horrible, not because that it looks like shit, not because that the story was so bad. It's because the fans did not see the one and only Chloe Price. Now, I said earlier that people want to see Max Caulfield and Chloe Price. Yeah, so apparently, if you don't just you have to put both of them in there to actually make the game complete. So, unfortunately, Square Enix just bringing Max Caulfield in there did not do justice at all. In fact, I think it did even worse than True Colors and Life is Strange 2, which is even more surprising. You know, you would think that the fans were happy just to get Max Caulfield back, but no, they really wanted the duo back together again. Now, again, I don't know much about this. I don't know how much Lydia knows about this, but I will let you two discuss if you like to share anything on the game. If not, then we can just move on like always.
Lydia only knows what I've told her, which isn't very much. And
So
Oh,
gatekeeping.
no. I've only played through it once, and I was gonna do it a second time, but I did not want to do it on the PlayStation, so I bought it on PC, and we will work our way there. So when okay, so I don't want to dwell too deep into it, just because this is setting up Reunion. I will say, I think Reunion was always gonna happen. Because it said at the end of the game of Double Exposure, Max will be back. So the game was always gonna come out, but Chloe was never, I think, gonna be there. So I will touch on that. So in the trailer, I can't remember much of the trailer. I remember that it was fucking gorgeous. I remember that everything about it was beautiful. Um, because of me playing it only once, I don't remember everything, but I remember hating Max's new power. I fucking hated that. That was really annoying at some time, at like some points in the game. Really fucking annoying. Um, and the reception was absolutely nuts. Okay. I remember, if you so this is my experience, this is me talking. Um I remember, if you liked Double Exposure, and I'm not like joking at all. This is not me like trying to bait. This is not me being like exaggeration. This is truthful on my own experience. If you liked Double Exposure when the game came out, or like a little bit afterwards, you were public enemy number one, and you were apparently not a true fan of Life is Strange or Chloe and Max. Here's the thing. Deck 9, I think, did a great job, but the problem was, there was one writer who had a vendetta against Chloe. They had a fucking vendetta against a fictional character. Why? I really don't know. But they kind of took over, and whatever they said goes. That is why Chloe was not in Double Exposure. And I know fans were wanting her back. I did not. I was fine with Max by herself. I actually prefer her by herself instead of Chloe, because I'm not the biggest fan of her. So I really wasn't bothered by her leaving. Now, the thing that I think really tipped the fans off was of Max and Chloe broke up in the game, which to me felt real. If you went the Bay route, saving Chloe, There was no way in hell, I hate to tell you this, there was no fucking way in hell they were surviving, like, their romantic relationship was surviving that. When Chloe finally realized that she has to go, and you blatantly murder her fucking mom, her stepdad, everyone in the town for her after she finally acknowledges what she has to do, you're tweaking if you think that their relationship was going to survive. There was no way. Okay? And I know people say that, oh, double exposure's not canon, like this is Deck Nine's like what if. I think it's canon. I believe that Max and Chloe were never going to survive it. And this was even after like or before the game was ever announced. I always thought that the relationship was never going to survive. I thought it was a dumpster fire, like a grenade waiting to go off, like a ticking time bomb. Because Chloe not only has resentment for Max leaving, but now she's going to have double the resentment because Max blatantly ignored what she wanted, which was she had to die. She knew she had to die. And if you choose saving her, she blatantly ignores that and just lets the town get fucking annihilated. And yeah, we may have saw them in Life is Strange 2. David may have said that they were happy, but this was 3 years afterwards. I gave the relationship 4 years to 6 months max, right? And everyone wanted to believe that they were happy. No, I'm sorry, but that's not realistic. And yeah, Life is Strange, it's not a realistic game because they're people with powers. But if you want to think realistically, they were always meant to. They're like a doomed relationship. They were always, I think, meant to be doomed. And I think people held on to the relationship so hard that, it's valid to be upset about that. There's also comics. I call that a glorified fan fiction because that's not canon to me. To me, it's a glorified fan fiction to the people who wanted the bait ending. And for those of us who chose to sacrifice Chloe, we were fine without Chloe in the game. So, because in the game of Double Exposure, I chose Chloe being dead, I did not see, like, any of the letters or, like, her on social media, obviously, because she's dead in my game. So, when I saw, like, people's, letter, like the letter to Max, Chloe's social media. And I would also like to reference this. Chloe's not dating Victoria. She is not dating Victoria, okay? I'd like to put it out there. They're just friends, right? That's all they are. I don't think they're dating. Like everyone wants to think they are. Yeah, that's a whole nother. It's because I think Chloe and Victoria were kind of flirting, kind of not, under each other's social media posts in the game. And then the breakup letter. I can't remember what that said, but it made sense in my head because Max never needed Chloe, but Chloe would have always needed Max. And I think now after, and this is just my hypothetical, after the storm, Chloe didn't need Max, but Max needed Chloe, is how I kind of put that. So they kind of switched. And I think even now, Chloe went to find herself. Max went to find herself. She's working at college. They're both in their 30s. They're grown up now. And, they're obviously different. But I think my biggest gripe about it all as a complete, not the game itself, I thought the game was fine, was the fans. And the fans and how they acted, I think, was absolutely disgusting. I mean, when only 20% of reviews and criticism was actual criticism, and the other 80% was just bitching and whining and moaning because Chloe wasn't in there, I personally think you're valid to have those feelings, but I think boycotting it because she isn't in it, I think is kind of stupid. I think that's kind of fucking pathetic in a way. But I think the most pathetic thing of it all is sending death threats to the crew at Deck 9, okay? It's not their fault. The person who took over the writing, who did all this bullshit is the only one at fault in my eyes. And yes, I know Deck 9 has had controversies in the past, but I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about double exposure only. And I think it's bullshit that a dev over at Dontnod, which I don't trust Dontnod with the Lifeisstrange IP either after the dumpster fire that was Lost Records. That's another thing we can get into at another date. Had to come on social media to tell the fans to stop sending death threats to Deck 9. That's pretty bad. In my opinion, that's fucking bad. And then it was even worse as a fan of Double Exposure because I was receiving death threats by passionate Chloe fans. Let me tell you something. Okay, I know I'm yapping, right? I know I'm yapping. I have a lot to say about this because so much shit happened when it came out. I shouldn't have to fear of starting a war because I said my opinion out loud. I shouldn't have to feel like that, and I shouldn't have to feel like I'm, waiting for someone to send me a death threat. I shouldn't have to do that. I should not have to, and I shouldn't have to be told I'm not a real fan of the game because I like Double Exposure. Who are you to tell me that, and who are you to tell the fans who like Double Exposure that they're not a true fan? Who are you to say that? And I think that's where my true hatred for the fan base came from, was after that experience. So me and the fan base kind of don't get along, and that's okay because I didn't fucking like them in the past 10 years. Anyway.
Honestly, I think going back to what you said, this is actually, it's unacceptable to be giving death threats over a game. It's okay to be passionate about a game. It's okay to be in the fandom. But if the fandom gets bad enough where they decide to send death threats, at that point it is not okay. And it's just depressing. At that point there's I understand why you don't like the fandom, because that is awful and it's terrible. And genuinely, it upsets me because I've been in many fandoms throughout my life and I have never once gotten a death threat, because most people know how to act when they hear a different opinion. It's okay to have a conversation, but it's not okay to attack somebody because they have a different opinion. That's how life works. Not everyone's going to have the same opinion. And genuinely, I wish somebody would have stepped up from maybe their team or something to say something to the fans and the fandom to let them know that that's not okay. And stop feeding them and letting them continue to fester and continue to think that habit and that action is okay.
Yeah, I can't remember if someone from Deck 9 came out and spoke about it, but I know Michael Koch, I think I'm saying that right. He's a popular dev over at Dontnod. Respect that man a lot. I feel like it was maybe in his nature to come out and be like, "Hey, stop! That's not cool. That's awful." And it's okay for him to be like, I don't recognize my characters. This is why Deck 9 is kind of like a what if kind of different. I want to say different version of Max and Chloe, which I also like that. I like what ifs too. I like, different types of what ifs. So double exposure didn't bother me at all. But it's awful because not even the Stranger Things fandom was bad after the show ended. And that was pretty bad. But this, I have never, I think in my 20 years on Earth, have ever been threatened for my own opinion over a video game like this before. And that's pretty bad. And I think losing your shit over a character not being in the game, I think that's fine. You're allowed to have those feelings. That's valid. But to sit there and be go unalive yourself, I think's not. You need to get off social media if that's how you're gonna act, because that's disgusting. And then I also want to add, and this is kind of this is directed you'll know. The weird ass parasocial fans who think Max and Chloe are real people. I can't stand that. And there's a lot of them. And I will never understand why they like it. Everyone has parasocial relationships, but not to that degree or level of acting like these fictional characters are real. Like I don't understand that level of intensity. I don't think I ever will. But I think it's weird, and I think it's not okay to be like to just go and tell someone to unalive themselves because they disagreed with you. I think that's truly disgusting behavior. And I think that's something this fandom will never like come back from, because it's to the point where it's like new players. Like I feel so bad for new people who come and play the games and then they share like, what they like, what they don't like, and then just getting torched for having a different opinion from the majority, which you're public enemy number one if you have a different opinion from the majority, which I think's really sad.
Right. It truly is. And like in the fact that like in our other podcast you had to deliberately tell people that it's not okay to post that kind of stuff in the comments, that really just tells you how bad the fandom is and genuinely um like it's awful and those people need to get off the internet if like there's in no way is that a correct way to respond to someone having a different opinion. It has never once been okay. And it's very disappointing because as a new person who's just joining the fandom, I mean, I'm not personally worried about it because I couldn't care less what people say, but like genuinely it's just it's really disappointing, like people should be better than that at this point. Like just, they need to do better. It's just disappointing.
That's why I was like, if anything gets directed towards anyone, like directed towards me, because I'm the one that's in the fandom. I'm the one that knows kind of everything.
Right.
And I'm the one that's more experienced. And I don't want random fucking people coming at you too, because, even though we're discussing this, and even though they don't care that you're new, if they disagree with something that you said, they're going to go after. And that's just, I think that's terrible because I shouldn't have to be like, you're not allowed, like any disgusting comments towards any of you will be deleted. I don't care if it's towards me, but to you two, I'm probably gonna lose my shit. Like I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm gonna lose my shit
Right.
because that's not okay. And you two are new to this. Well,
Yeah.
maybe not Carter, but you are new. He's new, and I think it's
Mhm.
disgusting that people treat other people this way, especially on the internet. They're brave on the internet. They wouldn't say this shit in person, but little keyboard warrior bastards anyway. And I just should not have to say that. Like I feel like that's
Right.
self-explanatory. Do not sit there and send death threats to anybody. Like I feel like that's a self-explanatory thing, but I guess it's not.
I think some people just don't understand that that is something you can't be doing, and they think, oh, it's okay because other people do it. Like, I think those people are sick in the head and they really need help because there's no way in their right mind that they should be sending shit like that.
Agreed. And honestly, uh, where I want to leave off on this one is to anyone new that wants to join the fandom, that wants to play these games. And if you're brave enough to join, I just hope you proceed with caution because I have watched as a silent fan for over a decade and more. And the way that this fandom has steadfast gone downhill since Life is Strange 2 came out makes me really disappointed and sad because this was once a great fandom. This was once a awesome community, and now it's just taken over by not to point fingers, Pricefield fans, not to point fingers, but
That's crazy.
that's where a lot of the hate stems from. And as someone who just plays these games with an open mind and will give my honest, like raw, honest opinion on it, play all the games, play the games. Don't listen to anyone else. Don't listen to any review. Play the game for yourself to form your own opinion, and that's all I have to say on that.
Definitely. And the question we'll end this segment off on, so we'll get into the second segment. This question that you both can answer is going to be: do you think Life is Strange should have stayed with Max and Chloe forever, or was moving on the most necessary thing that they need to do?
I think that they needed to move on because at a certain point Max and Chloe's story gets really old. You're just rehashing the same thing. I mean, even if you add like new parts to the story, you're still rehashing the same relationship that you can clearly tell from the other games that shouldn't be a thing anymore. And really, they just need to give them a break. They really should just move on to new characters. They've overused Max and they've overused Chloe at this point, to where like we know the fans like them, but at this point, we need something new. We need something fresh. Like we can keep the same concept of like trauma and the powers, but give some new characters, a new aspect, like a new look at everything. Um, Instead of continuing to just hash more and more on the same story, and it's just, the more you add to the story, the less it makes sense. And they're just continuing to add more and more to the story and changing it the way they want to, so it goes the way they want, even though it contradicts the first game where you choose what happens. Because after that, it's more of a contradiction of, is it really what you chose, or is it just what, they were forced to end up with?
Agreed. I think moving on is the best course of action, which I believe reunion is the last time we'll ever see Max and Chloe, and I hope it stays that way. Um, but I think fans will always want Max and Chloe, which kind of is like irritating, as we want new games, we want fresh content, fresh characters that we've never seen, and I think that unfortunately I'm gonna be brutally honest. I think no matter what, every new game's gonna flop. That's not Max and Chloe, minus double exposure. But I truly think every new game will flop, and it may not seem
100%.
like it may not feel like a flop. It may not seem like it at all. But I truly think it's never gonna exceed the expectations of like the majority of the fandom if Max and Chloe are in it or at least mentioned, um, which um, continuing Max and Chloe's story, which should have stayed ended in the first game, but if they would have done hypothetically, if they what they should have done, I feel like to me, was make two different games based off of the ending of the first game for both endings to respect both endings. And even though I feel like double exposure kind of just was its own thing, reunion kind in a way kind of makes the first game's choices at the end there pointless almost, but at the same time makes both endings kind of come together, but leaving the ones who sacrificed Chloe kind of pissed because she's alive in the game for this upcoming one, which
Right.
I was happy to begin with, but I'm not gonna sit there and be like, oh, like fuck these people, like blah blah blah, like do what these crazed ass fans did. I would like to think the people who chose the sacrifice Chloe ending are a lot more mature, which is what I've seen.
Hmm.
um, but I think a new direction would work. I also kind of off topic. I don't want them to touch Sean and Daniel's story either, because there's six endings. I feel like that would be a wild
Right.
fucking dumpster fire if they were to try to touch that game.
Right.
Um, and I think all the endings, like, while really up, like, all of them are really sad. Um, I think touching it is just gonna ruin it, and I don't want that because that game is perfect the way it is. So I hope if Deck Nine continues to make games in the future, which I hope they do, I hope this isn't the end of Life is Strange as a whole. I hope that they just don't touch Sean and Daniel's story.
Right.
Definitely.
I don't think they should. touch it either. I mean, if you have six endings, I think that's fine enough and you don't need any more. And as you said, I also think that with the Chloe and Max, the ending of like whether you sacrifice her or not, I think they should have done multiple games like going along with that storyline. So each side would be happy because at a certain point, like you're just ignoring one half of the lore and everything that happened, which isn't what the game was meant for. It was you choose on how it ends and your choice matters. But as the games go on, I feel like it's like it seems like it doesn't matter. And like the last game, like, could be the reunion, right? Like is it called reunion? I don't know what it's called.
Yeah, it's called
But
Reunion.
like it's you could do that as like an ending game, but you just have to make sure it makes sense. And I feel like the way they're going, it's not making much sense based off of, because the choices we made doesn't matter in a sense. If we chose to sacrifice Chloe to play the other games, it doesn't matter after
And
that.
in a sense, it does because I forgot. Well, I can't. Max kind of
Just say it.
conjoins timelines, kind of merges them together. So like, even though Chloe's dead,
Right.
Chloe comes back, and the
Right.
the thing, like, even though I'm not happy she's back, I'm excited because you get to play as her. Although I'm not excited for Talkback to be back because, as we know, I cannot do it. Um, you guys stress me out when we do that.
Yeah, a little
um,
bit.
but the thing that they have with her is like she is having memories of a life she never lived, which I think is a cool concept to that. I thought that's really cool of a add-on. Um,
Right.
and I think merging the timelines was probably the best way they could do it, with double exposure kind of just being its own thing. But instead of reunion, fun fact, thank God the writer for double exposure was fired because they were trying to start like a fucking MCU universe for Life is Strange, trying to
Oh
have
God.
all the characters with powers meet up, and I just was not. I personally wasn't a fan of that because it's gonna get made fun of so fucking hard, and I'm glad that they hired the writers from BTS back and they took it in a completely different direction because
Right.
even though the writing for double exposure is low key kind of bad, kind of doesn't make sense in a way. Um, I Reunion tries its best to bring it together to make sense. Hence the timeline merge at the end of double exposure. Um, and that I think trying to with the reunion having it make sense that way, which unfortunately reunion's looking like a copy and paste of the first game just with like different elements and shit like that, which I don't really care if it's a copy and paste because they all kind of copy and paste each other if that's the case. um, I think reunion will cook. I truly think it will. I think it'll help make shit make sense. And
Hmm.
again, if people say, like, for the people who say behind or before the storm had terrible writing, go talk to the fucking wall. It's right over there. Because before the storm is perfect. Okay, reunion will also be perfect.
Definitely. And so now that will end off our first segment. Um, Definitely has some great conversations there. I love how this is already playing out. Now, heading to the second segment, we're going to go and hit the rewind button, and we're going to go all the way back to around 2003, which